Have you ever wondered if you're leaving money or healthcare benefits on the table? Or, how changes in Washington might actually shrink the disability ratings you rely on? Because right now, a massive legislative standoff is happening, and it affects everything from your future claims to benefits for catastrophically injured veterans.
It really is a critical situation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Veterans Briefing. Today, we are unpacking the breaking news surrounding the Take Care of America's Veterans Act, which is H.R. 9237. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly what this stalled mega bill contains, the highly controversial way they're trying to fund it, and the upcoming VA rating schedule changes, like for tinnitus and sleep apnea, that are right at the center of this whole debate.
Yeah, and look, we're dealing with a situation that exposes the sometimes ugly mechanics of how veteran benefits, internal VA policy, and, well, congressional funding all just collide. There is a massive amount of noise out there right now. We've got competing narratives from politicians and advocacy groups alike. So our objective today is to strip away the political theater, examine the facts, and look squarely at how the government mechanisms actually work here.
Right, because before we can even analyze why this bill failed, we have to establish what it was actually trying to accomplish. What's at stake for you, the veteran?
Right.
So this isn't a single, straightforward piece of legislation.
Yeah.
It's a massive consolidation.
Yeah, it's an omnibus package.
Exactly, an omnibus. We are talking over 60 different bills rolled into one with 62 separate provisions. I mean, it's basically a giant legislative wish list for the veteran community.
It is, and that's a really common strategy in Washington. Rather than trying to force 60 individual votes, leadership just bundles them together. And within this specific package, there are some monumental provisions that people have been fighting for, for over a decade.
Yeah, and the crown jewel of this package is definitely the Major Richard Starr Act.
Oh, absolutely.
For anyone not deeply familiar with this, it is a massive deal for medically retired veterans with less than 20 years of service. Right now, those folks, often called Chapter 61 retirees, they're generally barred from collecting both their full military retirement pay and their VA disability at the same time.
Which is just a huge source of frustration.
Yeah.
To understand how it works, you have to look at the current offset law. Basically, for every single dollar a Chapter 61 retiree gets in VA disability, $1 is deducted from their DoD retirement pension.
Right. It's a literal dollar-for-dollar penalty. Just imagine, serving your country, getting injured in combat, being forced into medical retirement before you're 20 years, and then realizing the government is basically making you fund your own VA disability check out of your DoD pension.
Yeah, it's tough. And the whole point of the Major Richard Starr Act is to completely eliminate that penalty. They want to allow for concurrent receipt.
They get both checks.
Exactly. The core argument is that these two pools of money, they serve fundamentally different purposes, right? Military retirement pay is a vested pension for your service. But VA disability is direct compensation for lifelong injuries you sustained in the line of duty.
They're entirely separate debts.
Right. Separate debts owed by the government. So the veteran should get both without one cannibalizing the other.
Wow, yeah. And the package doesn't even start there. It also includes the Sher-Briley and Eric Edmondson Veterans Benefits Expansion Act.
That's a really important one.
It is. This is designed to add an extra $10,000 a year for catastrophically injured veterans who require full-time caregivers. When you look at Eric Edmondson, an Army veteran who survived a severe traumatic brain injury, it just highlights the immense toll this takes on families.
Yeah, we're talking about spouses and parents who have to abandon their own careers, right? They forfeit their retirement savings just to step in and provide 2047 care.
Right. And beyond that, the bill also has provisions to streamline the VA disability claims process so veterans can navigate it themselves. The goal is that you never feel so overwhelmed that you have to pay thousands of dollars to unaccredited claims consultants just to file your paperwork.
Exactly. It's about making the system intuitive and transparent.
But here's the part that drives me a bit crazy. If the Major Richard Starr Act has the backing of nearly 80 senators, over 320 House members, and even the defense secretary, why bundle it?
That's the million-dollar question.
Why put it into a massive 60-bill package? Why not just pass it on its own if it's so popular?
Well, the obstacle isn't a lack of bipartisan support. The obstacle is cost, specifically a set of parliamentary funding rules known as pay-as-you-go.
Pay as you go, right.
Right, pay as you go. When lawmakers introduce legislation that increases mandatory spending, like authorizing concurrent receipt for all these veterans, the rules dictate they have to explicitly show how the government is going to pay for it. They need a legislative offset.
So PIDOGO is basically like, okay, it's like trying to get a loan for a new truck, and the bank says you're approved, but you have to cancel your Netflix, your gym membership, and your cable bill first, just to prove you can offset the new monthly payment.
That is the perfect analogy. You either generate new revenue, like with taxes, or you cut mandatory spending somewhere else. Standalone versions of the major Richard Starr Act have been introduced before, but they always get blocked because there's no funding mechanism attached to them.
I see.
So this mega bill was an attempt to finally provide that massive funding offset to bypass the PAY rules.
Got it. If you're finding these discussions helpful, please subscribe to Veterans Briefing so you never miss important updates and practical information for veterans and their families.
It really makes a difference.
It does. Okay, so now that we know why an offset was needed, we have to look at the specific, highly controversial funding mechanism they actually tried to use, because that's what caused this bill to get pulled from the House floor.
Yeah, the parliamentary mechanics on the floor were incredibly tense. They didn't even hold a final up or down vote on the bill itself. It was a procedural vote on a motion to recommit.
Which is essentially a legislative kill switch, right?
Exactly. It's a tool to stall a bill and derail it. And that motion failed by a razor-thin margin. We're talking 210 to 211. 4 Republicans initially flipped to vote with Democrats, which signaled a huge lack of support.
Even though Representative Spartz eventually flipped back.
Right, she flipped back, but the damage was done. Leadership saw they didn't have the votes, so they pulled the bill to avoid an on-the-record defeat.
And the statements from lawmakers really highlight why. Representative Anna Paulina Luna said point blank, "I'm not going to cut veterans' benefits." And Representative Van Drew said that paying for good provisions by reducing disability compensation is just the wrong approach.
Which brings up the most controversial part of this whole thing.
Right, and I want to push back on the optics here,
Yeah.
just to clarify a major misconception for our listeners. Because, wait, to the average person listening, it sounds like Congress wrote a bill specifically to cut sleep apnea and tinnitus benefits. Is Congress inventing these cuts to pay for the new benefits?
No, and I'm glad you asked that. They are not. The VA, not Congress, is already independently initiating these cuts.
Wait, really? The VA's doing it anyway?
Yes. To understand this, you have to look at the VA rating schedule. The VA has 15 different rating schedules that evaluate the severity of disabilities, and a lot of these date back to the 1940s.
Wow. Okay, so they're incredibly outdated.
Exactly. Medical science has advanced a lot since 1945. So the VA has been updating these schedules since the Obama administration. They've actually finished 11 of the 15 already.
Right, like the digestive system update we saw recently, which severely narrowed the ratings for GRD.
Exactly. It used to be easier to get a 30% or 60% rating for GRD, but now the new criteria demand very specific testing results, which restricts higher ratings for future claims.
And now they are moving on to the final 4.
Right. The auditory, respiratory, mental health, and neurological systems. The VA intends to finalize these by the end of this fiscal year.
And that's where tinnitus and sleep apnea come in.
Yes. The VA's proposed rules, which are already in the Federal Register, will eliminate tinnitus as a standalone condition. It'll likely only be compensable if it's attached to a broader hearing loss diagnosis.
Oh, wow. And sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea is even more drastic. Right now, a CPAP machine gets you an automatic 50% rating. The new proposal would drop that to 0% if the CPAP machine adequately treats the condition.
Because if the fatigue is treated, the VA says you're no longer functionally impaired in the workplace.
Exactly. That's their medical rationale. You stay service-connected, you keep getting VA healthcare and the CPAP, but you lose the monthly financial compensation check.
Got it. So because these VA changes are going to lower future ratings, it creates massive projected cost savings for the government.
Millions of dollars.
So this bill, H.R. 9237, was just trying to legally capture the savings from those already planned VA cuts to use as the PAYGO offset.
You nailed it. The bill merely tries to capture money the VA is going to save regardless.
But man, that has caused a massive philosophical divide among the biggest veterans advocacy groups in the country.
It really has. It's fractured the community.
Let's talk about the opposition first. Groups like the DAV and the VFW, along with lawmakers like Representatives Richard Blumenthal and Mark Takano,
Right.
they strongly oppose this bill. They're calling it a poison pill.
Right. Their argument is deeply principled. They argue that one generation of veterans should not have to pay for another.
Right.
They believe offsetting new investments this way is absurd and cruel. The government owes a debt to veterans, and they shouldn't pay it by cutting earned compensation from future generations. They think Congress should find the money elsewhere.
But then you have the supporters. Groups like the American Legion, Wounded Warrior Project, and Representative Mike Bost, they support the bill. And the American Legion actually came out and said that leadership requires offering solutions.
Yeah, their stance is highly pragmatic. They point out a harsh reality. If history repeats itself, like with the GARD changes, the VA is going to implement these sleep apnea and tinnitus cuts 99% as written.
Regardless of public comments.
Exactly. So if this bill fails, the cuts still happen, but the saved money simply evaporates back into the Treasury. It's gone. The bill was an attempt to legally earmark those evaporating funds back into veteran benefits.
It's essentially a legislative catch-22. It's like knowing a store policy is about to wipe out your store credit.
Yeah.
One side is saying, hey, let's use the credit on these new benefits before it's gone. And the other side is saying, no, we shouldn't have to accept the policy change at all, even if protesting means we lose the credit entirely.
That's a great way to put it. And both perspectives are completely valid here. Listeners really need to look past the political bumper stickers from both sides and understand these mechanics.
Absolutely. So let's bring this complex debate back down to earth and recap the 3 key takeaways you need to remember from today.
Sure.
Number 1, the Take Care of America's Veterans Act, H.R. 9237, is currently stalled. That means massive provisions like the Major Richard Starr Act are on hold.
And number 2, the VA is independently moving forward with its final rating schedule changes. Those are projected to severely limit future claims for tinnitus and sleep apnea, regardless of what Congress does.
Right. And number 3, the veteran community remains deeply divided over whether to capture those VA savings to fund new benefits or to reject the practice of offsetting benefits entirely.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It really is. So for a practical action you can take right now, we encourage you to verify your current eligibility requirements through official sources. If you've been putting off a claim, look into the current rules.
Definitely. And also, contact your congressional representatives. You can use tools like Claim Raven's letter writing tool to clearly state whether you support or oppose this specific funding mechanism and tell them why.
Make your voice heard. We'd also love for you to share your experiences or questions in the comments below. How do you feel about this philosophical debate of using VA rating changes to fund other veteran benefits? Let us know, and please subscribe to the show.
We read all the comments, so jump in.
Which leaves you with one final thought to mull over. As medical technology advances and treatments get better, will the very concept of a 100% permanent disability rating eventually become a thing of the past? Is something to think about. Thank you for watching Veterans Briefing. Take care, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next episode.